By now, you have already heard that Disney has created a new video series or a new cartoon called The Antichrist, or it's based around the story of the Antichrist, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But it's funny, just a few days ago, I created another video about Disney and how Peter Pan was full of sexuality, how it was just filled with all this. And believe it or not, it got as many dislikes as it got likes. Now, this kind of makes sense to me because when you begin to hold up somebody's sacred cow, that when you hold up something that they hold dear, when you hold up something that they like, and you begin to scrutinize it and say, hey, there's evil there, people are not going to like it. The Bible says that the truth is as sharp as a two-edged sword. And at one point, I even had one lady call me a pervert. You can probably see that in the comments. But she called me a pervert, and only perverts would see that in these children's videos. Go look at them. You watch the children's videos, and let's see if you can discern for yourself what's there. Now, I would agree that there are people that are overly calling out everything. Like the word sex has been found in so many background portions of Disney movies that seems overinflated to me. I don't doubt it's there a couple of times, but that pattern, that doesn't impress me, okay? But there's many other things that Disney has done that's just blatantly sexual. There's just no way around it. But now you got people that are defending it. Now here's where I really want to take a stab at. I'm not really concerned about the unsaved. I'm not really concerned about super conservative Christians. I think they're making a stance. But I want to speak to the big swath of people in the middle, the lukewarm Christians, those who are, maybe it's in there, maybe it's not, or it's probably not, or I don't care, I like Disney, or we'll watch it with our kids and we'll keep them safe, or the children overlook it, etc. I want to talk to that group. I want to talk to that group that is doing nothing proactive with their life. And one of the first things I would state is that if you're not going to be salt, then you might not be salt. So if you don't help to preserve your culture, you might not be the preservative for your culture. And maybe you need to go dig in to your spiritual foundation. But for all these Christians out there that are like, well, we don't really have to take a stance on this. Like, Disney is obviously a neutral part of our life. It's kind of like electricity. Electricity is just a neutral thing in our life that is used by Christians and non-Christians alike. So I shouldn't have to take a stance on electricity. I mean, my goodness. So why should I be forced to take a stance on Disney? Now, for years upon years, people have been pointing out that Disney is trying to propagate or subliminally include some very vile things within their videos. And Christians, I'm going to say the majority of Christians have been really complacent and been like, that doesn't really matter. And then that group, the middle quadrant, gets really upset with the conservative Christians. They're like, phooey on you, like, don't attack my Disney. And they begin to kind of side with the world, about this neutral cartoon scenario. Really? If we look at what has recently developed, Disney has bought up and directs FX. And FX has come out with a new cartoon series about, of all things, lo and behold, the Antichrist. Now, I know immediately where some people are going to go and they're going to kind of defend this and back it off a second. And so let's just attack that first. Like, it's a cartoon for adults. Really? So if it's a cartoon for adults, then that makes the content okay. You've got to understand it is still Disney pushing the agenda here. Now, this cartoon is in the vein of what some call like shock factor cartoons. Like, let's be, as raunchy as we can get, or let's say the most terrible cartoons we can do, kind of like South Park or I forget what the other video series they have posted is, but let's just shake up society by throwing some curveballs at them, and let's make light, trivial conversation and about dark and evil things. And that seems to be the kind of approach that FX has took. You know, they and Disney both know that this was going to really stir the waters and it was going to get a ton of attention. Now, what has recently happened is that as Christians have become more aware of what is happening, Christians have kind of backed off their support, and you are seeing some financial hurt come to some of these larger institutions like Netflix and Disney. But of course, they don't want to really publicize this, and they sure don't want you to make that connection, because if you did, then they'd have to change things. Maybe they couldn't keep pushing their agenda. Now with this, what I really want you to consider is that we don't have to knock their income down by 50%. All you have to do is knock it down by 10%. And you're making a whopping difference. And as I have said in other videos, any dollar that you don't give, it doesn't come out of the bottom line, it comes out of the top line. You need to understand that this is out of their profit margins. If you want to hurt a company, begin to attack their profit margins, which will begin to attack their stock and their derivatives, and it'll begin to attack their popularity, and they'll go down like a sinking ship, and all of a sudden, a sinking ship begins to look for differing leadership. Now, since Disney has and is directing FX in this satanic cartoon, let's just think a few things about this. Like, number one, they have introduced that a lady had sex with the devil in the cartoon. Even if it's an adult cartoon, and again, just the idea of adults having cartoons is stupid and immature. It's kind of like a bunch of children who have grown up but haven't really grown up, so they want to watch something humorous, so they watch the most vile and horrible things they can. Now, and a question I want to ask you is, how can you get more vile and horrible than Satan worship? And we're going to attack this slowly, or attempt to attack it slowly. So, you know, adult cartoons, that in my mind, one of the first thing that always flags is this person has some kind of mental development issue that is not quite gone right. And that typically carries over into their life. Now, typically, if you find somebody that's weird or culturally not functioning well with those around them, or causing a lot of problems, or causing hiccups, etc., a lot of times their mental life is a little out of whack, and it doesn't bother you. I mean, it doesn't surprise you then when you find out, oh, this person reads comic books all the time, or this person only watches raunchy, terrible, nasty cartoon. Those two things usually go hand in hand. Not always, and that is not the only descriptors, but it's absolutely not uncommon. So if it is an adult cartoon, why is it okay to have raunchy, terrible stuff in it, like the Antichrist? Now, you've got to understand, if Disney is backing FX and FX is backing this, then Disney is backing this. The dominoes are there and in order. And if Disney was not backing this, they would immediately tell FX, hey, we don't like that, pull the plug, change this, do something different. But they're not doing that. And they're kind of appealing to the shock factor. And this, if you go back and look up 1978 movies that Disney supported anyway, you go look that up. You will be surprised when you look up 1978 Disney movies, 1978 movies that Disney produced, and you start seeing some of the stuff like The Faces of Death that was published. You can see they've been on the shock venue for a long time, which shouldn't make you more confident about Disney, but less confident. And so FX has decided to launch this really controversial cartoon because they know there is a segment of society that will feed off of this, and they don't mind being anti-Christian at all. And in this cartoon, there is blatant nudity of the cartoon characters. There is blatant cultic sacrifices. There is blatant gore, and there is blatant anti-Christian themes. Blatant. Now, a couple of things you need to be asking yourself at this point is what kind of person would allow or promote this. Like in our day and age of supposed inclusivism, if you attacked the Muslims in such fashion, or if you attacked Catholics in such fashion, man, that somebody would come after you. But as long as it's coming after Christians, as long as it's coming after Jesus, then this attack is okay. You really need to think about the imbalance there. So with FX, some of the screenwriters and editors of this show said, hey, we're just getting warmed up. What? Complete nudity, sex with Satan, gore and filth on the scene, and they say we're just getting started. And the screenwriters have actually said, we're actually going to continue to create until they tell us no. And I need to add this, that somebody in the first cartoon is like, let's go boil some babies while their heads are soft. Is this the kind of thing that you laugh about? First of all, let me ask that question. Is this the kind of thing you laugh about? And would you be comfortable being in the same room with somebody that made jokes like that? And if you think you would be, I can introduce you to a few of these people, and let's see how comfortable you are with people that think in that vein. Well, not only that, who are the people that are okay with then publishing and pushing such ideas? Who is okay with sacrifices of sorts? And this oddity dawned on me as well. Like, sacrifice, what are they sacrificing? Like, I don't know, I haven't seen the cartoon, but are we going to be okay with sacrificing humans? I mean, from what I understand, some of the bullies exploded when the Antichrist, when she had her moment of whatever, maybe her moment of figuring out who she was and her power just kind of unleashed, and which is funny because Satan doesn't have that kind of power. Satan only has deceptive powers. He's been restrained, but that might not be his only powers. Let me back up from that. The demons seem to be able to tell the future and produce signs and wonders as we get to the end of prophecy. But basically, this is a glorification of Satan's power, but we've never seen him be able to just blow people up. But here, the son of Satan could do that. People would just explode because of how powerful this satanic figure was. Are you okay then with human sacrifice? Like, it's funny, we look back at the Aztecs and we think, oh man, those ritual sacrifices where they sacrificed like X amount of people in 4 days. I don't even want to quote that, but there are some astronomical figures about how many people the Aztecs and the Mayans sacrificed with human sacrifices. That's one of the reasons we wiped those cultures out, practically did, because they were evil and wicked. Looking back at that, we go like, that's evil and wicked. But now we got cartoons popping up about it. And if the people are okay with laughing about that person got blasted, oh, they're sacrificing Christians. Like, if they hate another group of people so badly that they're okay laughing about it, do you think at some point they might be okay with participating in such activity? I mean, what are you trying to do when you push this ideology? And I just want to ask you, watcher, are you dumb enough to believe that only the presentation is what matters? Are you dumb enough to believe that? Or do you ever think there are motives behind what you see? I sure hope you can at least see that, like, actors act for money. People act like they love you for votes. There are other things going on behind the scenes. It's not just the cartoon that you're seeing. There is an intent and reason behind these things. Watcher, have you figured that out? But I figure, like, maybe if this, satanic cartoon gets into pet sacrificing, because there's more pets in the U.S. than anything else. And I know this isn't a U.S. cartoon. Maybe Disney isn't stupid enough to run it this quickly, but you better believe they're testing the water. But maybe if we start sacrificing pets on this cartoon, then maybe people will get upset and shut this cartoon down. But what is wrong with us? What is wrong with Christians who are taking a half in, half out stance when this is blatant Satanism? Let me ask you this. Are you comfortable with the Satanists when you meet them? Oh, I don't know any Satanists. Do you ever see them at the grocery store? Do you ever hang out with them at the mall or see them at the store? A lot of types of people that would make you very uncomfortable because of their lack of value for life and their self-servingness, and those that would mess with the dark arts who would make you feel uncomfortable just by a vibe in the room. You're okay with multiplying that? You're okay with presenting that across the board? Maybe you shouldn't be. With this cartoon, at minimum, maybe you can see that Disney is up to some nefarious things. Anybody that would run a shock cartoon about Satanism sure might put sexual innuendos and flat out sexual scenes into cartoons for children. And don't just consider the content. You need to think past the content. You need to think to the motives and the promoters. What are they up to and what are they trying to accomplish? And then maybe you will be wise enough to take a stance against some of this garbage.